Okay, thank you so much for having me for this conversation on equipping the next generation. And I'll begin by sharing my slide. So the topic here is equipping the next generation, careers and entrepreneurship. And I want to approach this by basically looking at the state of our world and looking at the state of our world, especially looking at the frictions in the marketplace. What are frictions? Frictions are the challenges that customers have. Frictions are the challenges that the world citizens have. Frictions are the problems with electricity, the problem with clean water, the problem with good education, the problem of practically anything that you can think of. It turns out that careers and entrepreneurship are all encapsulated within the need of solving these frictions. Because if you want to build a career in agriculture, there is this possibility that you are building that career in agriculture because you want to have a means to produce food that can actually help people overcome hunger. So we can see that the driving force that makes it possible for us to have careers, or even where necessary, to become entrepreneurs in specific market sectors are largely driven by the fact there are challenges, there are frictions, and there are also opportunities for them. So because of those frictions, we now have to do many things. And I will begin by giving an elemental construct that drives the mission of farms. Because we are all going to work in companies. We're going to work in companies, either the companies that we have started, we're going to work in companies that other people have started. And as a result of those possibilities that we can now build careers in them. So why do we even need to have companies? Why is it necessary that we have to build companies? And I will explain what they call the mission of farms. What do we need to have farms? It turns out that market systems are inherently imperfect. And because of market systems are inherently imperfect, there is a need to have companies that can help us to overcome those frictions. So for instance, assume that Ndubuisi had just landed in Lagos from United States of America, and there is no family member I can go to eat food, or there is no restaurant in the city of Lagos. I have only one major option. I have to begin to knock at every door in Lagos looking for somebody who has food to sell. And I can knock at the first, second, fourth door, and I may not even have somebody who has food. And at the same time I'm knocking at the doors, there is also somebody who has food, who is also expecting me to knock at his or her door. What is going on is what we call market information asymmetry. A situation where you know you are hungry, but you cannot easily figure out somebody who has food to sell. And the other person has food to sell, but he may not easily know somebody who needs food. So how do you overcome that problem? You overcome that problem by setting up a company. In this case, a woman wakes up in the morning, she goes to set up a restaurant, and that restaurant is called Mama Kemi's Restaurant. That Mama Kemi's Restaurant becomes a company. And the purpose of that company is to overcome that information asymmetry and makes it impossible for us to come into perfect equilibrium point. So the next time Ndubuisi is hungry, he goes to Mama Kemi's Restaurant. And there he now asks for food. And Mama Kemi serves food. He pays her. By paying her, he is compensating her for providing a solution to that friction of hunger which I had. These fundamental constructs cause across all ordinance of market systems: demand and supply, the producers and the consumers. Companies bring them together so that transactions can take place. And as those transactions take place, the needs of the customer will be met by the producer. The same thing is also applicable in banking. You've got some money, you don't have a need for it, but you are looking for somebody you can lend it over a period of time at a certain interest rate. At the same time, you are looking for that individual, there is also somebody who is also looking for you, assuming there is no bank. You agree with me, there is a possibility that you can look, you can't find that individual. And that individual may not also find you. So what happens? Somebody now says, let me go up and set up a bank. Take that money, go to the bank pays you the interest rate you want. The other person who needs that money goes to the bank. The bank now will add a small margin on top of that interest rate and now pays that person in form of a loan. So that delta that they have added is the cost they have imposed in the system for helping to overcome that frictional force which existed between the person who has money and the person who needs money. Companies bring these buyers and sellers together, making it possible for transactions to take place. So it is within this structure that we can now build careers. It is within this structure that entrepreneurship can now take effect, because these things happen within the structures of companies. So you have the frictions, the problems that you want to solve in society and markets. And you need to have what we call capabilities. Capabilities are now things that you need to have in terms of skill set in order for you to provide the services that you can do in order to overcome the needs of those customers. In those capabilities, that's where many of us fall into. That's where careers come into. That's where the spirit of entrepreneurship, building products and services that customers want. So frictions are challenges in the market. Capabilities are things that we now need to have in order to overcome those challenges for customers. For Mama Kemi, she needs to know how to cook good food, because those are the capabilities that she needs to run a restaurant. For the bank, they need to know how to run treasury services, customer service. They need to understand how to manage risk. These are capabilities. And those elemental pieces within companies become vistas for us to now participate in market system by having our careers within them. So as we go into this conversation, we can now see there are so many domains of these careers within these capabilities. And I will explain the three key elements. In those careers we call elements. Then you can now have knowledge. The people that have the capacity to combine factors of production. Elements, now talking of knowledge. Knowledge in terms of having skill set to understand things that are necessary in order to build any critical product that we need in the market. We're also looking at entrepreneurial capitalism. Entrepreneurial capitalism now looks at becoming a risk taker, becoming pioneers in markets. People that have the ability to look into market systems, take risk, and now help to overcome challenges that customers have. So looking at executors of the business models. When the knowledge has been formulated, who are those that can also be organized in order for them to go now and apply everything that needs to be applied for them to make sure that those products and services which are needed to overcome the frictions that the customers have are all provided. Knowledge is key. The Bible says that as Moses appeared before the Israelites, that they marvel because he has studied under faith. If you do not have knowledge, there is really nothing that you can do. So knowledge is also one thing that we can have to participate in that career, in that capability that we need in companies. And then some will fall into the domain of labor. They are hired now after people have articulated a business model that is needed in a company. But then some are going to find new paths, pioneering new things. So all these things fall into careers. They fall into the domain of entrepreneurship. And they are all encapsulated within people, processes, and tools. People, processes, and tools. And are looking at everything that we need to bring together in order to now overcome the frictions that customers have, because you need to create products and services. And those products and services, the processes of doing them, is actually how we can now enjoy careers in farms. So we're doing those things now can show us two great paths. The elements for frictions. Some are going to become extremely Zen masters, understanding different critical elements in building knowledge systems. The knowledge of a farm is the competitiveness of a farm. The knowledge of a nation is the wealth of a nation. Then also, when you look at it, you also look at entrepreneurship, because people are just very good in pioneering new vistas or model, processes, system, capabilities, which are also very necessary for them to drive systems. So some people will follow careers. It's assumed working for other people. Some will also follow entrepreneurship. That means they want to start new things. They want to become pioneers in markets, and they want to create a new world. So, but it's also key to understand that as we work in this thing, equipping the next generation becomes exceedingly critical for us to understand that one thing that we have to do is that we have to be innovators. The next generation, as they pursue this career and entrepreneurship, they need to be innovators. What do I mean by becoming innovators? If you look at this Paul Clough here, I plotted the 2,000 years of GDP of the United States and China, the two most dominant economies. If you look just before 1500 AD here, you can see that the GDP of China, GDP of the United States, both were largely flat. And if you take all the gross world product aggregation of all the GDPs in the world, this shape is also the same. So what was happening here, that the world was not making progress. The GDP was flat even when population was increasing. And if population is increasing when the GDP is flat, it means that per capita income will decelerate. And if the per capita income is decelerating, it means that people are getting poorer. People were participating in careers, but the careers they were doing here were not very, very innovative. We say that those careers were inventive, so many ideas, but they lack products and services that can help them in market systems. But over a period of time, things started changing. They now started participating in careers that can now have significant impacts in the lives of the citizen. And you can now see that the GDP has now moved from being flattened into something that is even exponential. So the question here, how do we equip the next generation in Nigeria, the next generation in Africa, so that our GDP can experience this kind of quantum leap? The people that lived were very brilliant people. Some of the most fundamental constructs in physics and mathematics, chemistry, they help us to conceive and pioneer them. And when they died, many of them died because the world was largely full of knowledge. The lack of production services, that means that the world was inventive in nature. The world was not innovative. So we have to equip with the right knowledge so that we are not just talking about the challenges of electricity, the challenges of clean water, the challenges of infant mortality. We can now have the capacity to actually provide those goods and services that customers need in market system, because the knowledge we have will be the knowledge that can become applicable in market systems. So as that happens, you see, God is inventive society and innovation society. So many brilliant people, so many great people, very intelligent people, but they did not produce something that is more significant. But we are also seeing that even as we move from that invention society to the innovation society, we are going to see new dimensions of knowledge systems, moving into the autonomous systems, intelligence systems, as people build more AI systems, artificial intelligence, machine learning, robots, the world is going to change. And these are going to offer new dimensions of careers as pioneers and market systems continue to shape them. Building and preparing and equipping us will now mean that it's not just being here. We also have to plan what is coming ahead. So I do believe vividly that the opportunities of the future are going to be found in the market system in Africa, in Nigeria, agriculture, healthcare, financial services, real estate, education, technology. These are areas we can find new careers, new opportunities, and we can pioneer new things as entrepreneurs. You know, the GDP of Nigeria is some $400 billion today. And I do believe that at optimal level, Nigeria GDP should actually be at least $3 trillion. And that means that every opportunity we have in Nigeria will be increased by a factor of 6. Imagine what that means, that instead of having, let's say, 200 jobs in that sector, you're now having a factor of 6 more. That means you're having that multiplied by 6. And as we are going through this, we're also going to see changes in markets because knowledge will continue to drive everything. The 1990s, we have the new generation banks. That's when some of the finest banking institutions in Nigeria were established. And then as we added extra more 10 years, we have the voice telephony era in MTN and all the telecommunication companies came. Later on, 10 years later, we have the voice internet era, mobile internet era, where we now have turning our phones into a domains of connectivity. People can now connect through their phones to the internet. Today, we are now talking about the age of application utility, where those phones, what is happening with our data systems that are moving on those phones can now become opportunities for us to create companies. Look at logistics companies, look at e-commerce companies, look at financial services, fintech, look at real estate technology companies. These things will change our world. They are going to become domains where the careers of the future are going to be built. The pioneers, the innovators, the entrepreneurs are all going into that domain because in the era of application utility, we're going to build new things that we have not seen, and new species of companies are going to emerge. Careers are all in there, and they are going to unlock new vistas, building, driving growth in a way that we have never seen. Many companies will see changes. There will be many redesigns. The total market capitalization of MTN Nigeria is bigger than the market cap of all the banks, all the insurance, and all other financial service institutions. In other words, if you want to see the value in terms of monetary valuation that the markets put into MTN and all these banks, insurance, that the MTN alone is bigger than them. So what is that telling you? It's telling you that this thing called digital systems is going to be very, very big. Digital system is going to be very big. And if digital system is going to be very big, it means that the empires of the future are going to be built through them. And I predict that Africa will have about 15 unicorns, companies which are worth at least $1 billion by 2023. It's going to be big. And if you look into that, what that tells us is that we can find growth and find opportunities in our careers in this type of companies. We already have some companies we call the unicorns in Africa, like Flora Wave, Opay, Wave, Cohav, Taswitch, Andela, Chipukash, some other companies that are also coming along the way. And then also see the companies that are funding them, like my own company, Tequila Capital, invest in all these startups. But one thing that is evident is that abundance is going to be part of the future. If abundance is going to be part of the future, people that shape their careers, prepare their careers along these lines are going to be some of the major beneficiaries, because the application utility era is going to be huge. New species of banks are going to be born. New species of insurance companies are going to be born. The insurance companies of the future may not even be insurance companies that use technology. They're going to be technology companies that offer insurance. How are we going to prepare for them? It means we need to think differently, because all unicorns be produced. And when we're talking about these unicorns, just to give you an insight, the largest financial services company in the financial services sector today is not even a bank. It's a company called Flora Wave, which was started less than 6 years ago. When you talk about these companies, they are growing at a very ridiculously fast pace. So what that means is, if you're looking for these careers of the future, you can find them there. But you have to have the capabilities which are necessary for you to drive them. And as we do that, I want to give you some case studies drawing from the Bible, because to a large extent, it's not only by using Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, and stock markets that you can also learn. You can also learn from the Bible. One thing is evident is rising to that call of leadership, ascension to that leadership. And that ascension to that leadership has many dimensions in business, technology, politics, and fact. But I'm focusing on technology, careers, and business. And there are so many clear attributes you have to have. You need to be prepared for that career. You need to be prepared for that call of entrepreneurship. You have to have clear missions, result-oriented. You have to accumulate capabilities. It means that you need to have skill sets that can help you to build those products and services which you need in markets. And of course, you need to create new frontiers, pioneering new things which are necessary for you to go into the market and solve the problems of customers. To give you one phase case study, look at Jesus Christ. The call to mission of 12 apostles. Jesus trained those apostles, equipped them, prepared them, that even when the paralysis came in AD 67, when Jerusalem came under reign, with General Titus and Vespasian, and many things happened. Because he had prepared them, he has gotten them ready before he left. They were able to continue that mission that he has called them. That's how entrepreneurs have to prepare their workers. You need to give them a very clear mission. You need to prepare them, you need to equip them so that when they go into the market, they have the necessary tools they need to accomplish whatever you want them to accomplish. You need to build and prepare an extremely committed people, just like Jesus prepared the disciples, so that by preparing them, they go in, help you, and accomplish the mission that you have been called in that particular business. And that's what it takes. And also look at what are the attributes that you need. Take you back to understanding what matters. And I'll take you to the case of Nehemiah. He was called to go and rebuild the wall of Jerusalem. To rebuild that wall of Jerusalem, Nehemiah was asked one thing by the king in Persia. What do you need, Nehemiah? He said, I want to use the timber from the king's forest. He's a very strategic man because he understood that the timber from the king's forest, if it is approved in the old Persian world, that project is as good as done. You do not waste any timber from the king's forest, because wasting any timber from the king's forest basically means the person will die. The king's timber, we go with the best bricklayers, the best masonry, the best security, because you don't waste it. So you need to have the spirit to understand what is key and what is important. You need to have the capacity, as you are being equipped with attributes for the next generational moment and opportunity, to know how to understand what is really key. Nehemiah understood what was important as he was trying to build the wall. He asked for the timber from the king's forest, and because he received the timber from the king's forest, he was able to overcome, execute, and accomplish the mission he wanted to accomplish. Of course, you need awareness, observation, and attentiveness. It's very key for us to also know that as opportunities and markets are changing, things are constantly moving around, you need to have awareness, observation, and be attentive to whenever opportunities are coming. If you cannot have those things, careers may be tough for you to have a very good one. I take you back to the time of Moses. As he was in the mountain, he saw the burning bush. The burning bush, God was trying to call the attention of Moses with a very important message that he was going to send him. Moses saw the burning bush because he was attentive. Somebody would have been there without seeing the burning bush. Because there needs to be a burning bush before a very great message has to come. Will you be attentive to see the burning bush coming from the CEO, the burning bush coming from the supervisor, so that they can now get your attention to give you that promotion that you need in life? And you also need to be bold. Many people will see the bush and run away from the mountain. And Moses saw the bush. Instead of running, he said, let me go and see what is going on there. The bush is burning, but it's not being consumed. That's what entrepreneurs do. They go hands-on and they see risk, and they want to find out. with that opportunity. You so have to have the visionary spirit mindset that take you to John, who wrote the Revelation in the house of Patmos, as he was being persecuted in Rome. Put him in a burning oil, he didn't die. He said, whenever we bring this man to the Colosseum to destroy him, he ends up converting many people. What I'm going to do here is going to send him to the house of Patmos so that he will be forgotten. They wanted to demote him so that he will not be speaking to many people. They wanted to take him out of Colosseum in Rome, where he was actually converting few people, and now into the house of Patmos, to an island where he will be forgotten. But you know one thing? Right there in the island, he had a revelation. And that revelation made it possible that he wrote the revelation. And that he was no more converting Romans. He was no more speaking in the Colosseum. Because of him, he speaks to the world. You will be a visionary that can see a revelation into your market. Opportunities that's driving your career, driving everything that you do, even as an entrepreneur. And then you have to have competence. And when you are called to do something, you get it done. Remember the king Belshazzar. The father Nebuchadnezzar had just passed over the throne to him. He changed the guards. He changed the leadership of his team. The time came, there was a miracle. A hand showed up with something on the wall. None of the astrologers or thinkers could interpret. Mother came and said, there is a Hebrew boy called Daniel. When your father ruled this throne, he was very grateful. So let's go and get Daniel. Fortunately, the message for Belshazzar was not great. But one thing I'm saying here, that Daniel had demonstrated competence. And when they called him, he was prepared. And he, of course, gave a very, very unfortunate message to the king. One point is clear. He had the capability. He executed. And we have in our careers, need to have competence and be prepared that when we are called, we have to come and execute and deliver, just like Daniel did. Now, of course, Moses was called. He has studied under the Pharaohs, attending some of the finest educational systems in the world relatively that time. Egypt had the best astrologers, the best thinkers, and Egypt ruled and dominated the world. Remember, just before the time of the famine, Egypt prepared, unlike other countries in the world. And Moses had lived in the world of so much knowledge in Rome, in the house of Pharaoh. And when they called him, he led with competence and preparedness. And as you do all things, I also want to say part of career is elevating others. Take you to the amazing Savior Jesus Christ, the pool of Bethesda. As the man that came, the man he saw at the pool, who had been looking for help, asked him, what do I do for you? And instead of the man say, sir, I want to be healed. Man was giving reasons, excuses. But nobody to take me into the pool of water after the angel has started. He was giving excuses. I made a 2-1, I made a third class, I made a fourth class, whatever it is. They say, Isaac. That is elevating others. But there are even cases in our careers when people may not merit so many things we think that they deserve. Never ever lose that your kindness, that the grace you show in the lives of people can also be part of your message. The Bible says that for God was in Christ Jesus, reconciling the world unto himself, not imputing their trespasses, that have committed the word of reconciliation unto them. And I do believe vividly, as we do these things, we will be equipped for the next opportunities, the next generation. And as we do them, our careers, entrepreneurship, pioneering new systems will become more evident. Thank you so much for the opportunity.